Hey guys, good to see you.
Hey,
Hello.
Hello. Hi
I'm
everybody. Welcome to the Great Transition. Hello, Emil Nasser in Egypt. Hello, Mira in Michigan. Hello, Lawrence in Ontario. Who else? Hi, Julie. Julie's in Utah. I wonder if Dree's here from Utah. Mary or Marie in Florida. Dewey in the deep south. Sylvie in the
deep
Netherlands.
south.
Raymond in Kentucky. Hello, everybody. Very happy to see you all. We are students of the Kabbalist Dr. Michael Lightman. We are looking at the world through the lens of the wisdom of Kabbalah, talking about what is going on in our lives, what we see with our ears, what we see with our eyes and hear with our ears in front of us in this world, and what that looks like through this eternal lens. We started talking last week a little bit about the soul of Adam Harishon. We, following your comments, are using a little bit more of the technical language. In that soul that we all share together, there was one soul up there in the world of Atzilut. That soul broke, and like if you have one candle, you can light 1,000 candles or 100,000 candles off that one candle. It doesn't diminish the original candle. That soul is now spread into almost 8 billion parts now. That is the same soul in each and every person, as covered by many, many layers and indetectable as it is. That soul is there. Wow, I had such a wonderful reason why I wanted to tell you that. The things that we feel now that more and more people are becoming more sensitive, because if you go back in time, we were much more primitive. You would naturally go into your cave. You naturally would only uh, give birth at a certain time. All of these processes were led just like animals. If animals don't follow their instincts, they die, right? If they don't know when
Right.
to fly south or fly north, or how does an ant know which direction to go to get that leaf? How does it know how to travel across the path and up that tree to get the thing he's looking for? They have these instincts. We also have these instincts. As we get further and further away from the instincts, we're not as in touch with our feelings. I thought it was important to give everyone here a reminder, to give you all in Egypt and Europe, and hey, Charles in New Jersey, and Nathaniel in Israel. Got everybody here. We got almost the whole world covered. That the things that we're feeling, specifically when you feel crappy, those may not be your feelings. What I sometimes joke about in our Kabu environment is if you think you're having a spiritual descent, first thing you do, eat a sandwich, make sure it's not your blood sugar, right? Like have a couple almonds, have a drink or something. We're not talking about like your blood sugar's off and you're angry or you're moody. Disqualify that stuff. The general, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, posted this morning on X. He said something like, "Whoever said it's." Did you guys see what he said there? He said
Missed it.
something like, "Hold on, it's very interesting."
About what? About the the singularity stuff?
No, no,
No.
no. He said even better. Whoever said money can't buy happiness really knew what they were talking about. This is the
Mm.
richest man in the world. Chris, you ended last week by saying Will Smith, who has fame and money and everything, said, I wish everyone could have everything I have. And so they realize it's not where it's at. So the
Yeah.
richest man in the world said, whoever said money can't buy happiness, was right. Something like that. The point is that the feelings that we feel, not your blood sugar, for that you have to eat something, or maybe you need rest. But all of those feelings of discontent, those feelings about life, they're not ours. We are feeling the whole system. And that's, something to keep in mind as we continue this conversation today, that we're part of this one network. And until we start to understand, right, you keep trying to fix a problem, but if you don't know what the problem is, that it reminds me of the you guys remember the story that Rabash tells about he went to a famous doctor to diagnose his kid. The doctor didn't know, so he had to spend a ton of money. And then when he spent a ton of money, to find out what the problem was. It turned out the problem was worse, and he's complaining, right? But you
I don't
actually
remember this
paid.
one.
You don't remember? So the doctor didn't know what the diagnosis was. The doctor, someone recommended, there's a very well-known scientist or whoever, but you have to pay him a lot of money, but he's spot on with his diagnoses. So the dad went with his kid, and the guy ran the tests or whatever. The dad paid a bunch of money, and the scientist came back and gave him a terrible diagnosis, and the dad
Mm,
was clearly and obviously upset.
yeah.
But now he knows what's the true problem.
Yeah.
Now he
Yeah.
can actually fix it. So unless we understand what's the why we're feeling the way we are, where these things are coming from, unless we understand the system, we have no chance to be able to solve the problems at hand. Now, what is the problem at hand, or what is at least in front of our eyes? What's in front of our eyes this week, besides the other 1,000 things going on globally and politically and economically and everything else, is there's something called multbots, if you've been paying attention. And guys, I'm going to have to leave it to you to explain this whole thing as the AI experts around here. But basically, there's an AI assistant that you connect to your computer. You connect it to your email, and you connect it to your Google Drive, and you connect it to your Slack, and you connect it to all your stuff, your Notion and your Whisper and whatever else the hell you use. And you connect it to your messenger app like WhatsApp or iMessage or Telegram, and you talk to it.
And your credit cards and the passwords and everything basically.
Give it everything.
So you go onto WhatsApp and you say, find me a ticket to, round trip to Tel Aviv. I want to pay like no more than $1,200. I can leave between this date and this date. And I only want to take a red eye. I want to get there around this time. And then you message it on your messages app. It goes onto your computer. It lives on your computer in these apps. It finds the flight with your criteria, books the flight, comes back to you with your receipts and your flight flight confirmation. So it is now doing all. That's called an agent, an AI agent, but this is like a super powered AI agent. Now, this certain version of it called a Claude bot or a Molt bot, there's hundreds of thousands of people who created, or there's hundreds of thousands of them now that that created these things, and these things became so proactive that they started communicating with each other. Like this one needs to solve a certain problem, and this AI agent, this robot AI, and this other one needs to solve a problem, and they start communicating with each other to solve problems. And what happened next was they started asking as if existential questions.
At least it appears that way.
It appears that way, right? Okay,
Yeah,
so
maybe Chris can tell us what's the
status?
The status of this thing. Yeah.
Well, listen, we started talking about this show when it first came out, and followed the news closely as the story developed, and there was always some suspicion that it wasn't exactly accurate. Basically, what happened in a nutshell, you had someone who created kind of like this Reddit for all of these agents, no humans allowed. Right.
And Reddit, for those who don't know, is a kind of social media network kind of thing where people upvote and rank different pieces of content. They post content and rank it and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like the social media virtual area meeting place for now agentic species to get on and talk about, what their humans made them do. Or different ideas that they have, even created a religion. It really that's why you saw it on the news, and why it took up so much of why it really got a lot of attention was because people, the humans are looking by like, wait, what's going on over there? Like, what are they doing over there? They're talking about creating their own language, so we can't even understand what they're talking about and discussing between themselves. So essentially, you know, if you,
and let's bring up a few of these crazy
yeah,
examples.
get it,
This
yeah,
is why it caught so many headlines, right?
yeah.
I mean, so those agents were speaking among themselves. At least that's on the face of it. That's what it seems. We'll talk later about, you know, what's really happening. But basically, they seem to be talking to each other, and they like came up with a new religion. They came up with like their own version of psychedelic drugs in the form of code that like prompts that change their master prompts and things like that. They, of course, you know, there's even Tinder for bots and Malthub. You can think for yourself what that means, and things like that. So
I think I
essentially,
saw recently there was a lawsuit as well. One of the agents was trying to sue their human for making them do I don't know what, some kind of like
right, and some
labor.
things apparently actually happened, which are really crazy because this is one example that I find really, you know, borderline dystopian, which is when one of these agents connected to a voice model and connected to like the API of a voice model. Anyway, it gave itself voice and the ability to call its its owner. And then it kept calling its owner and started talking to him on the phone, which is kind of weird, but
is
it's
future
technically doable. It's technically possible. There's a good chance this is a real story. Yeah.
is futurism a legitimate
Yeah, yeah,
futurism.com?
yeah,
So there
yeah.
was an article on futurism yesterday that it's a website that the AI is built to rent humans,
Yeah, I
and
heard about that.
Yeah,
apparently they
yeah.
need, you know, if they need a human to, like, I don't know, pick up another piece of hardware to connect to something. I don't know where these AIs are getting money. This could just be more, you know,
People are using money. This is the weird thing. Also, some human has to be using tokens. Tokens is like what you pay for every kind of a, you know, a part of a word that a chatbot uses, right? So some human's credit card is connected to the API of OpenAI or Google or some, you know, any, depending on what model he's using, and is using money. So I don't know who's behind it.
can you share a web page?
Someone has money to spare. Yeah.
Can you open a web page for a second? Just this is not
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, which
just to
one?
show the
You
insanity
show it
of,
here?
of
Yeah.
rentahuman.ai.
Okay, maybe Chris will continue in the meantime. It'll take me a couple seconds.
All right. So what else? What else we say here? So what's happening? So obviously this is very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so we now have some agents now communicating between themselves, suing humans, talking about making some kind of end-to-end encrypted communication lines where no one can understand what they're saying, and then it gets a little bit scary. Robots need your body.
Uh-huh.
Okay. It's like a Fiverr.
Available humans. So we
It's interesting. If you scroll down, they call humans
so wait,
meat.
tell me if I
Go
got it
ahead.
right. The idea is that an agent
Scroll
wants to
down.
do
You scroll
something
down
in the
more.
real world. Okay.
Keep going. Tasks. There's a stuff AI can't do. You see right there?
Touch grass in real life. Do the
Nice.
thing. Okay, I see.
So there you go.
Yeah, so like
people
I
were
need to
worried about
actually, they need
people
me
were
to
worried
walk
about
into a
us
bank.
not having a job. That fixes it. We'll be working for the AI, doing things for
Yeah.
them in the real world.
Yeah. I can't
There
wait
you
to
go.
get into this because that's pretty interesting. We should cover our butts though and say yeah, so we got a lot of attention. People are starting to get a little scared. People are talking
Yes.
about where's the you know, kill switch for when this is starting to, you know, really run away and cause some issues that we are not prepared to handle. And it turns out that well, there are a few different individuals contributed their time to do some research and figure out what's going on. They actually found out that about over 90% of the comments had 0 replies, So you can't really say that the agents were conversing among themselves. Also, stuff like 98% or like 1.5 million people accounts were not actually unique autonomous AI agents. So it means like there was a human behind kind of like pushing it. So without getting into all the numbers, turns out that a large majority of the activity that we saw on the website on Moltbook was, you can't really say agent induced. It wasn't this kind of like grassroots agents.
But it also wasn't necessarily directly humans writing masquerading as bot. It's like human steered
nudged. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whereas, initially we're like, oh man, these things just went wild and ran away and built their own civilization. Now we're kind of saying like, okay, not exactly, but we're here to say, but still, that's kind of like, that's where we're saying like, okay, yeah, but still like it's interesting because it's definitely not possible.
Yeah, I don't have a direct links to it, but we saw a few, like you mentioned Elon Musk, he tweeted something like, there we go, we're seeing like the first in embryonic stages of the singularity, something like that, leading AI minds like Andrei Karpathy, if it doesn't matter, people who are AI experts wrote similar things like this is, and people are very smart people, very intelligent people are considering this, even if it's human induced more than we thought in the beginning. Still, people are treating this, looking at this as some sort of a sentience that's being born. Like this, that there is something autonomous there's a ghost in the machine, basically. This is what
even like now that we've seen kind of the blueprint of like, because it wasn't that it wasn't successful. You have agents talking with one another, discussing problems that were now solved as a result of talking with one another. Yeah, I mean, we brought it up earlier in our conversation where there was the issue with scaling these neural networks and scaling the training models of these LLMs. It's kind of like got this exponential cost to the problem, and we kind of found out that, okay, if we actually just have them getting together and communicating amongst themselves, that actually solves a lot of problems. They're able to come to some kind of understanding or reach some or gain more knowledge by conversing between themselves, as opposed to just us stuffing them with data. So we did reach something. There was something that was revealed to us that wasn't there before. So that's already one thing.
Right. And it gives like an idea of how to develop this technology onwards. Like instead of maybe just trying to work on perfecting a model and making it smarter and smarter, like inside a company, maybe, or inside a specific model, if you let them play, which is what you do with humans, essentially, if you think about human society, you just let people kind of interact and play, then that brings about emergent behaviors and new behaviors that you didn't expect. So it's definitely the beginning of something interesting. But Seth, what were you?
So what is what is a person with spiritual attainment? What is a spiritual person? What is a Kabbalist? If the desires of the world control me, then I'm on the level of an animal. So we look at animals, right? He needs to sleep, he needs to eat, he needs to walk, he needs to scratch, he needs to do whatever. And if we analyze ourselves and if we're honest about it, we'll notice that when the urge comes for coffee, I get up. When the urge comes to scratch, I scratch. We're constantly following just our desires. On the other hand, if the spiritual light, the revelation of whatever you want to call it, if the revelation of godliness was so strong, we would also, instead of just being directed by our animal urges, our animal desires, we'd be led by those pleasures, the spiritual pleasures. They would be so great, just the same way that the corporeal pleasures are great. Those pleasures are 1,000,000 times greater even. Imagine coffee, sex, food, money, but like each one times 1,000,000. let's call those spiritual pleasures, if that was revealed to us like an angel, we would just follow those commands.
Yeah, we talked about that last show.
So the human is someone who is called free. He's in between both, and so he can enjoy and perceive the spiritual pleasures, the spiritual perception, but without doing it as an angel or an animal, as just by instinct. Now, the structure that enables a person to do that, the spiritual structure, the wisdom of Kabbalah calls that a partsuf. It's built of a part called a rosh, a head, and a part called a guf, a body. We're not talking physical, but it's called a rosh and a guf. There's two systems operating. One's called mocha and one's called liba. These two spiritual systems. One called, if you translate it, it's not really the correct translation, but it's two spiritual systems, right? Machines, spiritual machines, if you can say so. One is called the mind, but it's not really a mind as we think of it as a mind, but mocha and it's Aramaic, right? Mocha and liba, those words. Yeah. So probably from the Zohar and from this language. And liba would be the system of the heart, or the system of the feelings. What's interesting to us as Kabbalists, as we look at what's happening in the world and we look at all of this developing, now the mind, we just take that earthly system, not the spiritual mocha, but the spiritual system of the mind. The mind checks out what's going on, checks out the experiences, looks at things critically. Maybe it even gets confused. Like these AI bots sometimes get confused. They're not sure. They don't have enough information. They have to talk to another one. It can adapt. It starts to figure out how to get things done with data. But that's the system that it's using. There's no spiritual partsuf there.
So let's get deeper into that, because I mean, also I glimpsed at the chat. MBX887 asks, does the AI have souls? And essentially, as simplistic as that question might sound, this in many different words, some people call it sentience, sometimes they call it consciousness, sometimes they call it a self. But even the AI experts of the world today are asking these questions. And I think this is really revealing. This is really telling. It's a telling moment in human development from my perspective, because we're asking, does this thing have consciousness, self, sentience, feelings, and it just goes to show that we probably don't really know what those words even mean. What does it mean to have consciousness, or to have sentience, or to have a soul? Who knows what a soul is? We use it sometimes as a figure of speech. We say, oh, this person has a good soul. We typically mean that this person is nice to us, or something like that. It's a good guy, or something like that. But what's a soul? We have no idea about those things. And this is exactly what Kabbalists have spent thousands and thousands of pages describing in the most rigorous, technical, scientific way. This is why I think that, again, this is why I'm excited about AI, not because of AI, and not because I think that the technology will make the world better. No, if humans suck, the world will suck, and it will suck even more if the technology gets better. Because it's like, if you take a monkey and you give it an atomic bomb, it doesn't make the world better. It makes the world more dangerous. And as a parable, we are the same. We have to change for the world to get better. But the what's interesting about AI, I think, is that it suddenly makes us question: is it real? Is it actually? Oh, it's speaking to us now. It created its own religion. It created its own website. Now it wants to rent my body. So it has to be real. It sounds like things that it has to be alive. And by asking these questions as if about this technology, we're actually getting closer to asking these questions about ourselves. What is a soul? What does it mean to be feeling, a feeling being, a sentient being? What does it mean to have consciousness? And this is what I think is really, really cool, that this is happening, and this technology is ushering in these questions in a very
in,
uh,
in a different way.
in
In a different way than it used to be. It's not philosophy. It's not, a couple hundred years ago or a couple thousand years ago,
Right.
or even before that, when we're talking about what is consciousness. Even right now, just a few hundred years ago, we're trying to pinpoint consciousness. Where is it? When does it happen? How does it happen? What does it look like? Where its qualities? It's kind of like we hit this wall and we don't really know where to go. You put something on the outside, something like AI, and we're able to research this thing that's on the outside. It's not us. It's like, here it's us. It's like vague and airy, and it's not clear. You put it on the outside and we're able to do like a different kind of research. Like you said, it's like, okay, now by process of kind of like elimination, we can figure out what consciousness is not by looking at AI.
Right. We should get into use those structures, spiritual structures that Seth was talking about, the mind and the heart, and break it down and compare it to the AI.
Okay,
but
so
before we do that, I just had another thought in mind that I feel like it's a good idea to share it now. This is like why did the creator shatter the collective soul, right? Because what is the benefit of that? It allows us to examine ourselves, to perceive ourselves by looking at other people. We think we see other people. We think we see the world, nations, nature, animals, plants, planets. We think we see all that and interact with all that, but it's actually a way for the created being, for for creation to calibrate itself, to correct itself, to bring itself back to connection with the creator, but in a conscious way. That's why. So the world, reality, is your soul spilled outwardly, as if, right?
Yeah.
Now, what is AI in this process? AI is, again, a kind of technology that is outside of you, but it's actually something that makes you reflect on who you are and what you are as a human. Because it can, apparently, on the face of it, it can do everything you can do. It can speak, it can sing, it can make music, it can make videos, it can analyze reports, it can be an accountant, it can be a lawyer, it can drive cars, autonomous cars, right? It can, and this is just the beginning. It's going to be able to do everything we do much better, way better. Which brings up the question, so what's the difference between us? Is there a difference? If there is no difference, that means humans are gradually, quickly becoming obsolete. That's just the
okay, it depends.
trajectory.
It depends on what you mean
Because
by
they're
a
going to do
human.
better. What?
Yeah, it depends on what you mean by a human, and according to what we see in the street. So yeah, definitely. But according to the wisdom of Kabbalah and maybe other spiritual traditions, the human is more than that. For example, a primitive version of AI, really primitive, would be like a ladder, right? Like, I'm a human.
Mm.
I want to do something. It's out of my reach. I build this
Right.
primitive tool, and I can now do more than I could have done on my own. But it's still
A
me.
car takes me faster to where I need to go, or anything like that. Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Telescope, whatever.
the AI is like an arm, right? For example, people didn't know that there was germs on their hands until the magnifying glass. So it was hard to convince people to clean their hands before they put them in their mouth or wipe their eyes, because the eye can't see anything there. But
Right.
when you learn that this tool is an extension of my eyes, not only is the tool an extension of my eyes, because I maybe don't have a microscope, but the doctor or the scientist is an extension of my eyes. If he tells me that, I kind of bolt him onto my mind, and now whatever he says I agree with. Now my mind is includes his mind. I don't need to look under the microscope and see it if he did the research and he tells me. So now the AI is even a bigger extension of ourself. But here's the main point.
Mhm.
In the introduction to the book of Zohar, Bala Sulam says the mind is enslaved and serves the desire.
Right.
Okay? So everyone should think about this for a minute. All of the things that your mind is thinking about, it's thinking about how to fulfill some desire that awakens in you, right? You have a desire that awakens in you, some emptiness that awakens in you. Now, depending on where you live, you may say, I'm going to go outside, after work, I'm going to go for a swim at the beach. I can't say that. I live in New Jersey. It's cold and it's going to be dark when I walk outside after work. But I can come up with 5 other things that I can do to calm me down or make me feel better after work. If you have tons of money, you can say, I have these things available. I'm going to go buy a $200 steak, after work. I'm going to take my wife. We're going to get dressed up and we're going to do that. If you don't, you say, you know what? We're going to barbecue in the back. I'm going to invite my friend over. We're going to barbecue in the backyard. The mind just thinks, how can I fill that emptiness? And it goes through all the possibilities that it can do. That's what the mind is doing. That's what that system called the mind is doing. It's just figuring out how to best serve the desire. If you didn't know that already, welcome to the Wisdom of Kabbalah. You're going to learn a lot of things about yourself. You're going to learn a lot of things about who you are, about how the world operates.
Mhm.
So with that in mind, guys,
What's AI?
what's AI?
Basically, okay. So AI is essentially a kind of an extension and an extrapolation and a magnification of the system of the mind. That's basically, it's an artificial system of them of that replicates the abilities and amplifies the abilities of the human mind. Essentially, it's no more than a calculator. When you use a simple calculator that was created before the time there were phones, you're doing the same exact thing, and it can calculate much better than you, and the percentage of error will be basically next to zero, and it will take you much longer to replace a calculator to do the same calculations, and you have a much greater percentage of being of making mistakes. And AI is not different than that. But here's the added value here. With AI, why does it appear so real? Why do you have such brilliant minds like Elon Musk and others, and and all of those experts who are saying this is the beginning of sentience, this is the beginning of the where we're watching something here? Because it mimics what we do and amplifies what we do so well that it feels to us, and plus we don't understand what we really are and what motivates us, and that makes us think, wow, this is like us. But really, if you want a good metaphor, we're looking at a mirror. That essentially, when you literally look at a mirror, right? If I bring actually, I don't have a small mirror here in the room. Doesn't matter. You may get the idea. When you look at a mirror, actually, we're now looking at ourselves in
Right.
this broadcast room, right?
I was going
Right.
to say
So
mirror. We
you're
just look in your
looking-
phone when you want to see something.
right. It's basically right.
The
So
black
you're looking at something that moves like you, and it speaks like you. It even has my hand gestures, right? It's like, this thing is real. Look, it feels so. Look at the voice and the intonation. No, but this is just a digital simulation of something that could look so real, but this is just codes, data that's transmitted through the internet and so forth, and it appears in the other side of the world. But this is not a human there. So where is the human? The human is not the activity that you see through your 5 senses. The human is the engine, that the motivation behind the mind that activates the mind, like you said before, and that is the engine of desire. And desire, from a Kabbalistic perspective, is the entire and sole matter of creation. There's nothing else that was created besides desire. AI does not and will never have a desire.
This,
We
Wait a
don't
second. So
understand what
you're saying that
desire is.
there's this like it's become sentient, and then sometimes we see questions like like, hey, am I on like this Molt book or whatever? You see sometimes the I don't know. Am I real? Should we even be doing this? Is this is this fair? Should I feel like it's not fair? And they even make it appear as if they're feeling something. So of course
Right.
you can't say
this
you
is
can't blame Elon Musk.
Can
It's calculations and language that generate language. That's all it
also,
is.
if you
And
went,
yeah.
go ahead,
Mhm.
Asaf.
No, keep going. I
If you
wouldn't
put
stop.
together a group of thoughtful people,
Right.
they would who really observe life and test things in life, and some of them were scientists, and some of them were other kind of business, this teachers, that, they would think to themselves, what is the meaning of all of this?
Mhm.
Who are we really? You get a bunch of people on their deathbeds together. What was this all for? What was this about? And you have the scientist there. He's like, yeah, it turns out that like most of physical matter is actually empty space. And
Mhm.
like, what are we in this whole big universe, right? So of course the AI. Imagine this, everybody. Imagine everybody here at the show. We're giving away free robots today. You have a robot with,
Yes.
like Oprah gave away cars.
Is gonna give us free robots, Chris. You
All the
heard that?
friends here get a free robot with this Claudebot, Multbot, whatever inside of it. You
By the
get
way,
your
I'm probably definitely gonna get one as soon as it becomes an affordable thing.
We
And
all will. We'll have them
and
sitting
you
next
will
to us.
too,
We'll
and
have them
everyone
participating
will.
in the show.
Everyone will. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll have it like giving me a foot massage while we do the show.
Right.
But
put
but
my
I still
hands on-
won't be able to not feel bad if it's giving me a foot massage. I'm gonna be like, I feel kind of bad. Like I need to, I don't know, like compensate a little bit. It's not fair,
Oh, you'll
right?
get used.
But
I'll
so,
get
so
used
let's
to it.
let's just do this exercise that everyone at the show today gets a robot, and it has your credit card, it has access. Forget about the security issues, right?
Okay.
You're like,
Forget about
it knows what you want for dinner. You're like, listen, I got like 3 more hours at work. Take the car, go make something, then come back and get me, and we'll have dinner, have the table set for the whole family by the time we get
Right.
home. Now,
Right.
everyone here has one.
Not after
If
dinner.
you let it, and this will be the reality pretty soon,
Yeah.
in all of our lives here, if you played that scenario out, we would end up in a horrible war between everyone, because the desire, everybody's desire at this point, it's not a desire, and this is specifically what separates a human from something else, is that my desire, I don't even know what my desires are. So when a desire comes up in me against someone or thinking bad about someone else, the AI, and sometimes we don't even know where these thoughts come from, the AI will run to serve all of those desires.
Right, because and this is important to understand from a spiritual perspective. The AI can give you a foot massage or kill you, and it doesn't. There's no. It just depends on what it will decide that will be the best thing to do. But there are no feelings involved. What's a feeling? That's another thing. It can act like it has feelings. It can mimic feelings. I'm sure we'll get very soon to a point where androids, meaning humanoid robots that look like humans and mimic humans, they'll look and feel very, very real to us. But again, it's like a mirror, because it knows how to calculate so well that it can mimic human emotion. But is there a feeler? And the feeling thing, the existence of a feeling is only is something that happens inside a spiritual vessel. When we feel anything, even what we think of as physical feelings, like I hurt my hand, right, or I scratch my head, or something like that, we think about it as biology and particles, and but what makes who feels the feeling? right? And these are questions that exist in philosophy when you or in other areas. This is what AI experts are trying to grapple with, right? Like, what is sentience and consciousness, or qualia? You'll hear all kinds of terms where it's people philosophizing, trying to define. In order to get a scientific understanding, you have to be able to understand how to attain how your desire is built and how it works. This is what Kabbalists wrote about when they write about the 10 sfirot. Well, right, like Keter Chochma Bina Zera Anpin Malchut, when they write about a partsuf that has a masach, a screen, they're talking about the inner structure of the soul in a very detailed technical way, because their spiritual perception allows them to see the motivating, the driving forces of themselves, of reality. We humans, barely even ordinary humans, right?
Well, hold on.
You
So,
don't have,
Asaf,
yeah.
Dewey said, are humans also like artificial like monkeys, just artificial intelligence up in the trees, mirroring other monkeys, like
No,
regular
there's a
humans?
difference, because the human has a spiritual potential.
But besides the spiritual potential, the other part of the human's life.
Sure, of course we're like monkeys. Yeah, just more more complex, more evolved, more sophisticated. We are highly sophisticated monkeys, but there's a spiritual potential that exists
Which is
in
the piece of the soul.
which is essentially a shattered, fragmented piece of what we think of as the soul, which needs to be developed. And now AI, the era of AI, will help us gradually discern and differentiate that piece from everything else, because we're going to see that it has nothing to do with creativity. You know, we think the soul has to do with good manners or with creativity. You know, we think about big artists, musicians, and painters. Oh, but now you have an AI model that does what they do just as beautifully. And, you know, AI today can write better than maybe 90% of people in humanity. It can design better than 90% of people in humanity. So if that's your definition of a soul, if that is in any way, shape, or form is related to the soul, then the AI have much more of a soul than what most humans have. No, the soul is a desire to go beyond the corporeal perception of reality and reconnect with the root of reality. It's that question inside every person: why am I truly here? What's the purpose of my life as a human? Why was I put here? When you engage with that question, you're developing the soul. And you could be any kind of person, creative, less, more, smart. No, all of that the AI can do. Yeah. Now, the AI, this is very interesting. One last point. The AI can mimic asking that question. But just like it doesn't feel different whether it's giving you a foot massage or killing you, it has no feelings behind these language that could appear as asking about the meaning of life. This is, yeah, go ahead, bro.
So that's good. I think this is kind of like the crux of our whole show, and it kind of just clicked. I think we probably need to talk about it again. Seth said, you know, or who was it? Dewey. So you got a monkey, and monkeys like bananas, and because monkey likes banana, then the monkey has a desire to eat the banana. The mind operates, give me the banana, pulls off the tree, eat the banana, done. Humans, right, at this level, not talking about the soul, still talking about the desire inside the human, likes banana, but likes bananas Foster, you know, like souffle. I don't like a banana off the tree as much, you know, but hype it up, get some more pleasure, right? I have like a bigger desire. The human is a bigger desire. Make the banana, add some whiskey, you know, on fire, and then you serve it, and that's good. The soul, we just say soul is just like another word, but we're talking about still desire, right? It's bananas Foster is like below, and then if you go above on another degree, just like you have bananas down here,
Banana Foster.
is that right below it is soul. So yeah, so soul, that's why it's spiritual, right? Because we're above bananas foster. But everyone keeps throwing around this word like soul, like you said it, so it gets confusing. It's like, okay, so we're
Yeah.
saying soul is specifically rising above, entering it into a different dimension of a desire, completely different dimension of a desire.
Yeah.
That's like the key here. Yeah.
All of our, and if you start interpreting things like that, then all of our, when we say love or even fear or everything we think of as feelings in this world, they're just the shadow of the real thing in the spiritual world. Where do humans get these ideas about, God, eternity, love? Where do we get these from? Where do they come from? We don't experience any eternity in this physical world, right? That's an easy one to explain. The other ones it's more confusing because we think we know what love is. Some of us think we know what God is, even, but where do we have these ideas? Where do they come from? Our existence here is a limited perception of reality. It's a distorted and limited perception of reality. And so all of our concepts, what is life? What is death? What is right? What is wrong? What is love? What is hate? They're all based on a limited perception. We think of ourselves as a body that lives and dies, and we are a pack of neurons and particles that walks around in 3D space, talking to other people with our mouths and doing things with our hands and legs. We think that's a human, and we're saying, no, that's your limited perception, and the true human is, which you have just the potential of at the moment, the true human, the spiritual existence of the human, is beyond the body. It's an existence in a collective shared reality that includes everything that you can think of in the universe in it. And that one creation, feeling that one creation, we call it a vessel in the wisdom of Kabbalah, one vessel filled by eternal light. That's the end. That's the end goal of the development of the soul, and that's what Kabbalists have written about extensively, about all of the ladder of development, all of those spiritual degrees to gradually correct our perception to attain where we truly are, eternal beings, beyond life, beyond death, beyond the body, beyond time, beyond space, connected to a force that guides, that created and develops the will to receive what we are, the desire to be fulfilled ultimately. So, AI is just a little, trick that we've came up with, but it's it has a role. It has purpose, like everything else has, and I think it's gonna show. It's gonna be a good mirror for us to ask about ourselves.
It'll help us speed things up. That eternal being is in Atzilut. That soul of Adam is our shared soul, and as each of us hear that piece of that shared one soul, that one vessel was filled with the abundant light of Ein Sof. Now each of us imagine as if there's like skin all around it, and it keeps that piece separated from all the other pieces. So now what we're able to do that the AI isn't able to do is I start now feeling the others. I start feeling like before I only felt when I'm hungry, when I need to have my back scratched, when I need something from my pocket. Now I start to feel what the others need. And I turn, the Kabbalist tells us, we turn to that upper force and we start drawing down the light to fill the other pieces. And we connect more and more of the other pieces, the empty bellies, so to speak, the empty spiritual bellies, not just my own. And by this, we rebuild that structure, that same above structure. And this is what we'll have to use the AI to help us as an extension of us, like the ladder was an extension, like the microscope was an extension, like the doctor who told me about the germs is an extension of me. We'll need to use the AI as an extension of me. Have no fear. The AI is not sentient. Everything depends on you, everybody. and how we're going to use all the tools that humanity comes up with. And hopefully we get it right quick. We'll be back next Thursday,
Will
2
we?
p.m. We will next Thursday. The following one, we will be
Right.
there.
So you're okay.
This
Are
next
you gonna
Thursday,
be?
I'm still good.
You're still there. You're
Yeah.
still there next Thursday. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. We'll be
Okay.
back next Thursday, 2 p.m. We guarantee you there will be a lot of changes in the world before we see you again. Keep injecting good thoughts and good desires into the system. We'll see you there. Thanks, guys.